I have selected the theme, Escaping from Poverty, the Role of Science and Technology in Africa, in order to highlight the need for world leaders to reflect whether it is really acceptable that one part of the globe should thrive and prosper while the other half is engulfed in extreme poverty. Africa is not poor because it has the largest deposits in the world of diamonds, gold, coal, copper, and manganese. The burning question now is, why are Africans among the poorest people in the world when the continent has all these resources? There has been incessant plunder and exploitation of Africa's mineral and other resources by industrialized countries of the North to the detriment of the economic development in Africa. The second reason is the deliberate marginalization of Africa in global financing and foreign direct investment, as well as access to science and technology innovation that would have created new wealth for Africa. In other words, because Africa's resources are not processed on the continent, but are shipped to the North in raw form, they do not create new wealth and employment in the African countries. I wish to underscore that although African governments feel marginalized in global trade and financing, they nonetheless look at globalization as a system of relations that could assist them to achieve sustainable growth through fair international trade. Many African governments believe that WTO can be an instrument for growth if it can be designed or redesigned so as to improve the structure for production and trade in the poor countries. I also believe that the global trading arrangement can bring prosperity for the poor if the negotiations can result in a fair distribution of the benefits of financing, investment, and trade liberalization to a larger percentage of the world's population. In essence, the African policymakers are looking for a global system that is non-discriminatory and that will result in improving access for their manufactured products in the markets of the developed countries. One of the many challenges is to break the technological divide so as to have global equity in the distribution of wealth where the rich nations do not become richer at the expense of the poor nations. I also maintain that a genuine international compact should guarantee that prosperity arising from the major breakthroughs in science and technology, including information and communications technology, should be made available to Africa. I believe that through the national budget, Malawi can achieve a rapid rate of economic growth and thus break out of the vicious cycle of poverty. But Malawi will not prosper if we take the posture of business as usual. Amidst this distressing scenario, I strongly believe that with the support of the international community, the African people can escape from poverty. It is possible to produce enough food, clothing, and shelter for the majority of our people. It is also possible to achieve a quantum leap in the application of science and technology to solve day-to-day problems of development. This will be possible only if industrialized countries are willing to restructure the United Nations and the WTO to focus on combating poverty in Africa. Therefore, the more African countries emerge from extreme poverty, the more the continent will continue to contribute more positively to global prosperity. Thank you, and God bless you all.
I do want to address the issue of the media in Africa. I hear it so much that it's about television images that are harming the image of Africa, and that TV and the media has so much to do with what is happening in Africa.
Why is it possible that Africa, with 900 million people, does not have its own continuous news network, an equivalent of CNN 27 years after CNN was launched? Why is that? Why does Africa not have its own independent media voice? Why is this? Well, it's because of the economic model.
The radio, for example, is a very basic way of getting out good messages, whether it's educational. We've used it a lot to educate about bird flu and how to deal with these kinds of issues. So I think there's some basic technology that we have to remember is being applied, being expanded.
We set out to build a $100 laptop, but that would be designed for children. It wouldn't be costing down an existing laptop. We'll load it. Laptops will come with as many as 1,000 books in each laptop in local languages, 4 very sophisticated programming languages for children that were designed for children as young as 6 years old.
I want something like the 1 laptop per child to happen. My own daughter has her own laptop, and it's an incredibly powerful tool in her hands for independent thinking, for learning in her own way, and so on and so forth.
I would submit that we also have to start looking at what we in the United States call trade schools. And these are schools that taught people how to draft, taught people how to fix mechanical equipment, put computer networks in. So it's not university as such, but it's bringing them into an opportunity to have a responsible job that actually will help the country long-term and help the economy in the country.
If there is a possibility for you to crash the cost of producing computers, it will be better than saying that you are going to produce $100 computer to specifically poor people of Africa. Let it be affordable like like a mobile telephone today.
And so if we're talking about pushing the boundaries and thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead, and maybe this is where you start to need a computer with every child in every room. You have to think about building that capacity as well as the primary healthcare infrastructure. The key is that that research is relevant and it's pragmatic and it's driven not necessarily by the needs of institutions outside the countries, but it's driven by the research needs within the countries.
Educating children not so much to look for white-collar jobs, as it is saying, but to look for opportunities to start their own businesses. And this is really the key. We are revising the whole education curriculum in Malawi to try and push on this. Start off with students right away from the start. They are trained not to work. They are trained to start their own businesses.
How does one, in the context of needing entrepreneurs, needing good ideas, needing social investments, also look at those wonderful, innovative, usually singular ideas in the context of the larger problem and figure out across the sectors, and particularly taking into account the needs of the whole child or the whole community, what is needed?
Peggy, I think you put it right on the table. We need people that can connect the entrepreneurial world, and the business world is full of idea people, with people that know what's happening on the ground. What I do know is that there are people in the business world that want to find vehicles to help. And we need to find ways that we can work together.
And I really think there's a lot of great promise for technology for development if it's used appropriately.